Howdy everybody, David here, and this is another Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition race breakdown overview. And this particular overview deals with the Half-Orc, its traits, and a couple other optional things that we'll talk about towards the end of the overview. So the Half-Orc, the race for D&D 5e, is not in the free basic rules PDF that you download from the Wizards of the Coast website. The Half-Orc is in the Player's Handbook on page 40 and 41. Now, the Half-Orc is just like it sounds. It's half-orc and it's half-human. The Half-Orc really is not going to be accepted in either or society, but it would probably have the least amount of, I would say, the least amount of friction and the least troubles living in a human society. But if you're going to play in an evil campaign, the Half-Orc, your DM's probably going to give you a hard time because they are basically a bastardized race. Now, that would be in the Orc society. Overall, the Half-Orc is still kind of shunned. Not as much as, say, a Dragonborn or probably a Tiefling, but the Half-Orc is still going to be, frowned upon. Now, as for on page 40, it has a lot of lore about the Orc. It talks about Gruumsh, their god, the one-eyed god Gruumsh. I would say that your Half-Orc is definitely still going to be influenced by Gruumsh, even if you decide to choose another, deity, a Forgotten Realms deity, Dragonlance, whatever realm that you're playing or setting that you're playing. You'll probably be influenced by one or the other. So we'll talk about that in just a second as well towards the end of the overview. Now, also on page 41, it talks about the tribes and slums that they live in. It talks about different Orc names, female and male, and for the traits. Now, the Half-Orc traits, they're straightforward. You get a strength score increase of 2 and a constitution score increase by 1. So you definitely want to play a strength-based character. You could play a fighter or a barbarian, or maybe you could possibly go with a ranger if you're not going to go finesse, if you're going to go with a strength, but that would probably be highly unlikely. So I would suggest sticking with a fighter, or possibly maybe a cleric, maybe a battle cleric, or a barbarian. Now, the age of the Half-Orcs, they mature a little bit faster than humans, around 14, and they age notably faster, and they live a little bit longer to 75 years old. Now, the alignment of Half-Orcs, basically, it talks about how they're chaotic, but it is up to the player on how they want to play. This could also be influenced by if you're more of a Orc, Half-Orc, or if your traits are more human-based, according to your background and stuff like that. So it's ultimately up to you, and that's the great thing about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. You're not pigeonholed into playing a Half-Orc or, a Dragonborn or Tiefling and having to play an evil alignment. It's totally up to you. Now, the size of the Half-Orcs, just like most of the other races in D&D 5e, you're going to be medium, you'll be over 6 foot tall, and your base movement will be 30 feet per round. Now, the Half-Orc, which is another good thing about the Half-Orc in 5e, is they get dark vision. And dark vision goes like this. Whenever you are in a dim-lit area, you can see 60 foot as if it were bright light outside. If it was pure darkness, you can see 60 feet as if it was dim light. Now, you're not going to see in these full colors as you would during the middle of the day. So if you are looking at the dim light, or if you're in the dim light looking at normal light, they'll be in shades of gray. So you need to keep that in mind as well. Now, you're also going to get menacing. This is where the Half-Orc trait is going to give you proficiency in intimidation. That's pretty straightforward. I think that's a great addition to the Half-Orc race. You're also going to get a couple of the better racial traits in the game. You're going to get, the first one is called Relentless Endurance. And this is when your hit points are reduced to 0, but you're not killed outright. So you're killed outright if you hit your half hit points. So if you have 50 hit points and you go to if you take a shot that's going to take you past negative 25 hit points, you'll die outright. But if you don't die outright, say if you go to negative 1 or negative 10 or whatever, there's really no negatives in D&D 5e. So first thing, there's only negatives for an outright kill shot. But like I said, if you go to a couple negatives, you're still going to be at 0, but you're going to have the choice to drop to 1 hit point instead of being 0 and unconscious. So that's really nice. So that can actually save your butt. But just remember, if you take the full, your half hit points, you're going to be killed outright. And you can only use Relentless Endurance once, and then you're going to need a long rest. But hey, Relentless Endurance, you're the only race that's going to get this. The other kick butt, trait for this race is called Savage Attacks. And this is when you score a critical hit with a melee weapon attack. That's the key word. It has to be a melee weapon attack. And that's why I was saying the Barbarian is probably going to be your best choice, or maybe like a two-handed fighter. That would probably be your best choice. Now, whenever you do score a critical hit with a melee attack, you can roll 1 of the weapon's damage die additional and add it to the damage of the crit hit. So, if you're using, take for instance, if you're using a longsword, which is a versatile weapon, if you're doing 1d10 damage using it as a two-handed versatile, you score a critical hit, you're going to add another d10 on top of the crit. So at level 1, you can do 3d10 for crit damage. I mean, that is crazy at level 1. You'll do the base 1d10 plus the crit doubles it, so it'll be 2d10, and plus your Half-Orc trait Savage Attack adds another one. 3d10 plus your modifier. That is crazy. And that would go for any weapon, as long as it is a melee attack. That's the key word. Now the last thing you're going to get to read, speak, and write Common and Orc. And let's go ahead and pull out, if you want to get a little bit optional with the Orc, maybe if you can get with your Dungeon Master. I went into the monster manual and went to the Orc section, and you can see that maybe you want your Half-Orc to have a little bit more Orc influence in its life. And maybe you want to take Gruumsh as your deity, instead of maybe taking one of the other, maybe instead of taking Thor, or, one of the other Forgotten Realms or Dragonlance, Eberron gods. Maybe your Dungeon Master, maybe you can get with him or her, and maybe take Gruumsh's Fury. Maybe you could take Aggressive, and then maybe your Dungeon Master will add on something like you could use it once, and then you're going to need a long rest. So those are a couple of possible options that you could do if you wanted to actually worship Gruumsh as your deity. So that's something to definitely look for. Actually, that's something definitely to look to. Maybe you could even take Battlecry. It just depends on if your Dungeon Master would be okay with it. These are not in any player's handbook, Dungeon Master Guide. This is just optional stuff that I was looking at in the Monster Manual. So, but there you go, guys. Feel free to leave a comment down below. I hope you guys enjoyed the race breakdown overview. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel. And if you need or want to play a D&D 5e character on my website, tabletopping.net, I have over 840 character sheets, every level, every class, every archetype, on nice 3-page PDF formats. Download them to your iPad, to your iPhone, download them to your PC, print them off, and thank you guys again for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.